I gave my husband $40,000 to help his mom keep her house. 2 weeks later, I found out they used it for her plastic surgery and a spa trip in Italy. You owe us this, she said, sipping champagne. He looked me dead in the eyes and added, "You're just the wallet." That's when I quietly started packing boxes from the attic. I gave my husband $40,000 to help his mom keep her house. 2 weeks later, I found out they used it for her plastic surgery and a spa trip in Italy. You owe us this, she said, sipping champagne. He looked me dead in the eyes and added, "You're just the wallet." That's when I quietly started packing boxes from the attic. My name is Mallory. I'm 43. I live just outside of Spokane, Washington, in a modest 2-story home that I paid for with my own money. I built my life slow and steady. Grew up in foster care, put myself through college, then nursing school. I worked doubles for years and skipped vacations, so I could afford a future that wouldn't feel like survival. I never asked anyone for help. And then I met Travis. He was charming, tall, confident in that laid-back way that makes you feel like everything will be fine. I met him at a mutual friend's wedding in Portland. I'd just gotten promoted to charge nurse. He said he worked in IT consulting, and we clicked immediately. He made me laugh when I hadn't laughed in months. I didn't even know how much I missed that feeling. We got married 2 years later. I was 38. I wanted to be smart about it. We had a prenup. I kept the house in my name. I didn't want to be the kind of woman who lost everything for love. But I did anyway. At first, everything was fine. He worked remote. I worked long hours at Sacred Heart. He took care of the house, did the grocery runs, managed the bills. We had joint accounts, but I paid most of the bigger stuff. I didn't mind. He said his contracts were inconsistent, and I made good money. The problems didn't start until about a year ago, when his mom, Leanne, began calling more often, every week, then every few days. She lived in Bakersfield, California, in this old Spanish-style house that she said was the only piece of dignity she had left after her divorce from Travis's dad. She told us the property taxes were choking her. The roof needed repairs, and she was behind on payments. The bank was threatening foreclosure. I offered to help. Not right away. I told Travis I needed to think. That's $40,000. I don't just hand out money like candy. But he looked at me with this mix of desperation and love and said, "She's my only family, Mel. If she loses the house, she'll lose everything. Please, just this once." I transferred the money 2 days later. Travis thanked me over and over. He said I had saved his mom's life. I thought I was doing something good. I even started sleeping better, thinking I'd done the right thing. 2 weeks later, I came home to an empty house. Travis had told me he was heading down to Bakersfield to help his mom meet with contractors. I didn't think twice about it. That night, I opened Instagram. I don't usually use it much, but a message from one of my coworkers was sitting in my inbox. "Thought your husband was in Bakersfield?" Face with tears of joy. She attached a photo from a wellness spa's tag post in Florence, Italy. And there they were. Leanne in a white robe, fresh bandages over what looked like a facelift, holding a flute of champagne. Travis was beside her in aviator sunglasses, grinning like a damn tourist. I zoomed in. The caption said, "Mom and son luxury reset in Firenze 2 hearts, #plastic surgery, #numi, #spare treat." My stomach turned cold. I called him. No answer. I texted. No reply. He didn't call me until the next afternoon. I picked up on the first ring. My voice shook, but I kept calm. "Are you serious right now?" There was no apology, not even an ounce of shame, just silence. Then a slow exhale like I was the one overreacting. "We needed this," he said flatly. "You don't know what it's been like for her. Plastic surgery and spa retreats in Italy?" I snapped. "Where's the roof repair? Where's the foreclosure notice?" Then I heard her voice in the background. Her smug, nasal tone I'd started to dread over the last few months. "You owe us this," she said, like she was talking about a dinner bill I forgot to pay. And then he dropped the hammer. "You're just the wallet, Mallory." Just the wallet. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just hung up. And that night, I started packing boxes in the attic. Quietly, carefully, because if I was just the wallet, then I'd be taking every damn cent back. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not yet. I took the rest of the week off work. Told my boss I had a family emergency. She didn't ask questions. I'd been a reliable nurse for years and had banked enough goodwill to disappear for a few days. While they sipped champagne in Italy, I opened a secret bank account. I pulled all the cash I legally could from the joint account. Just over $9,300. I stopped my direct deposit and had it rerouted to the new account. Then I removed him from the emergency contact forms, from my credit card authorizations, and from the house security system. Quiet, clean moves. I even changed the garage code. While I worked on the money side, I started looking in my attic full of boxes. That attic had everything. Old journals, tax documents, receipts, paperwork, stuff I hadn't touched in years. But Travis never went up there. He hated climbing the ladder. Called it a pain in the ass. Perfect. I took the wedding album down first, then the photo boxes, then all my legal records from before we got married, proof of the house being mine, the prenup terms, everything. I spread it all out on the guest bed and took photos of every page. I wanted digital copies of everything in case he tried to burn the originals. Call me paranoid, but I'd watched too many women get screwed over because they trusted the wrong man. I also took inventory. Travis never paid the mortgage. I did. The utility bills were mostly under my name. The car, leased in my name. I gave him a spare key because I was trying to be generous. Even the damn Netflix account was mine. He brought nothing to the table but charm. And I was finally seeing the cracks in that too. On Sunday night, I got a text. "We're flying home Tuesday. Can you pick us up from the airport?" No apology. No concern. Not even a question about how I was doing. Just a casual ask, like I was some kind of Uber. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the airport that Tuesday afternoon and parked 2 rows over from the pickup lane. I watched from my car as they rolled their matching designer luggage to the curb. Liam looked different. Her face tighter, lifted, frozen in a look of smug satisfaction. Travis had a golden tan and was wearing a leather satchel like some artsy student abroad. They waited, looked around, called me twice. I waited until Liam walked inside to ask someone about a cab. Then I pulled out and drove home. I wasn't there when they arrived, but I know what they saw. I'd been methodical. I left the ring on the kitchen counter. The safe was empty. Half the closet was cleaned out, my half. And taped to the fridge was a note, written in my neatest pen. "You said I was just the wallet." So I closed the account. Good luck living on overdraft. When I got back to the rental I'd secretly signed under my maiden name, I turned off my phone and stared at the ceiling for a long time. I wasn't scared. Not anymore. That night, I got an email from my neighbor Linda. Sweet old lady. Lives next door with her 3 cats. She sent me a message titled, "Something weird's going on next door." I clicked. There was a photo of Travis standing in our driveway, holding a hose. He'd scrawled "thief" on the garage door in spray paint. Probably drunk. Maybe high. Definitely stupid. I kept the photo. The next morning, I called the police and reported vandalism to my property. He was arrested later that week. But this is where things got even more twisted. Because as soon as I froze the accounts, Liam lost access to her hotel cards, too. Turns out, the last week of their spa trip hadn't even been paid in full. They were riding on pending transactions, assuming I'd keep covering it. She was escorted out of the hotel by staff in Florence. She had to fly home early, on standby, with no first-class perks. Travis used my backup credit card to try and book a business class seat, but I canceled it already. He had to borrow money from a friend to even get a rental car. He came back bitter, meaner than before, and now humiliated. But instead of apologizing, He tried to flip the script. He filed a claim with the county, saying he was co-owner of the home and I'd locked him out illegally. He tried to paint himself as a victim, even claimed I was emotionally abusive. The sheriff showed up with a civil complaint. My stomach twisted, but I didn't panic, because that prenup, rock solid. I handed over a copy, along with utility bills, bank statements, and ownership deeds. The deputy gave me a tired look and said, "He's wasting everyone's time." But it wasn't over yet. That same week, Leanne went on Facebook and posted this long, dramatic paragraph about how some women trap men and turn them against their own mothers. She made me out to be cruel, money-hungry, and jealous of her beauty. It would have been pathetic if it hadn't worked. Travis's friends, mutuals I once had dinner with, started messaging me. Nasty stuff. One called me a cold bitch. Another asked how I could abandon a man trying to care for his sick mother. Sick. She just had a new face installed in Italy. It was surreal, like watching your life turn into a reality TV episode. But I didn't defend myself. I just waited, because I had a plan, and it was already in motion. I didn't answer the messages. Not one. Instead, I took screenshots of every insult, every lie, every threat from Travis's circle. I archived everything, just in case. Because the truth was, I knew something Travis didn't. He'd been working remote for months, telling people he was an IT consultant. But the more I looked, the less I found. No real contracts, no invoices, no clients. Just emails from sketchy Gmail accounts and vague PDFs with numbers that didn't match up. I remembered something else too, last fall. He said he was hired by a startup out of Arizona. I asked for details at the time, but he brushed me off. "Nothing's finalized yet," he'd said. "Just early phase development stuff." So I dug. I reached out to a friend of mine from college, Ben, who works in compliance for a software firm in Phoenix. I asked him to look into the company Travis mentioned, Carroll Systems. Sounded real. Had a clean-looking website, but Ben got back to me a day later with a single line. "That company's a ghost. No EIN, no IRS trail. Someone made this from a template." It hit me like a punch. There was no job. He hadn't been working. He'd been freeloading on me. The worst part, he'd lied about paying off his student debt too. Said he cleared it before our wedding. Turns out, he never paid a cent. The collector letters had been going to a P.O. box, and now they were in default, with my address listed. He dragged my name into his wreck without telling me, and yet somehow he still acted like I owed him something. 2 weeks after I moved out, my lawyer sent a formal demand to vacate the property. Travis refused. He claimed common law cohabitation rights. Washington doesn't even recognize them unless you file for it and live like that for years. He lasted a month before the court ordered him out. And here's the kicker. Leanne came to court in full glam, new cheeks, fresh hair extensions, sunglasses the size of my face. She stood behind her son, like she was at a movie premiere. When the judge ruled in my favor, her mouth dropped open. She started yelling in the hallway, calling me a gold digger. I laughed, and I laughed harder when I heard what happened next, because Travis didn't have a place to go. Turns out, most of his friends bailed on him after realizing he lied about the house being his. He couch surfed for a bit, then tried to move back in with his mother. But Leanne, she'd already listed her house in Bakersfield. Why? Because she needed to. See, she was behind on property taxes. That part wasn't a lie, but instead of fixing the issue with the $40,000 I gave them, she spent it and then borrowed against the house again. And while she was sipping limoncello in Italy, the county had filed notice. That house, in escrow, pending foreclosure. Leanne had nowhere to go either. So now mother and son were crashing at some guy's basement apartment in Fresno. One of Leanne's old yoga instructors, apparently. I kept quiet, but inside I was boiling. They spent my money on surgery and spa days, while lying about a roof caving in. Now, they were living like squatters and blaming me for their own fall. But here's where it got worse for them. One morning, I opened my email and saw something strange. It was a fraud alert. Someone had tried to open a new credit card using my old married name. Then another notice came in. Someone applied for an online loan under a business I never registered. It was Travis. I knew it was him. He still had access to old tax files I'd stored on our shared laptop. He must have taken photos or backups before I locked him out. That was the final line. I filed a police report, submitted identity theft claims, and sent copies of all documentation to my lawyer. We forwarded them to the DA's office. And now Travis was under investigation for fraud and cybercrime. But he didn't know it yet. He thought I was just moving on. So he sent me one final text. "Hope you're proud. You turned my own mother against me." I didn't respond. But that night, I went to the attic one last time, pulled down the last few boxes I hadn't touched. Inside were the things I used to love. Old photos, a scrapbook from our honeymoon, some of his childhood keepsakes I kept safe out of respect. I packed it all into one big moving box, labeled it trash. Then I drove it to the dump the next morning and threw the whole thing in. The fraud case moved fast. Apparently, Travis used my social security number to apply for not one, but 3 different personal loans through sketchy online lenders. He used an old W-2 he found in the attic and even submitted a doctor marriage license to one of them, claiming we were still legally together, even though I'd already filed for divorce. I had proof it wasn't me. Timestamp bank records, location data, my lawyer's filings, emails, even a notarized letter from my HR department showing where I was the whole time. And the best part? One of those online lenders had already flagged him because his IP address had a history of attempted scams under different aliases. The DA decided to press charges. He was arrested in early May. Not for long. He got out on bond, paid by, wait for it, Leanne. She took out a loan against her car, her leased car. She showed up to court looking like a soap opera villain, in full makeup, shouting at the bailiff that this was a vendetta led by a bitter woman. The judge wasn't amused. The court issued a no-contact order. He wasn't allowed to come near me, message me, or ask anyone else to contact me on his behalf. But Leanne, she wasn't done yet. She started emailing me from fake accounts. Stupid ones, too. One was literally named Truth Queen 54. She accused me of destroying her son's future, said I was jealous of their bond, and that a real wife supports her husband no matter what. I forwarded them to my lawyer and filed a restraining order. She violated it within a week. This time, the judge had enough. She was arrested for harassment and contempt of court. Spent the weekend in jail. Her mugshot made it onto one of those small-town crime watch pages on Facebook. Someone in her yoga group recognized her and started sharing it. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Meanwhile, I sold the house. It wasn't easy. A lot of memories were tied up in those walls. Some good, mostly bad now. But I listed it with a local agent and got a full-price offer from a young couple with 2 kids. It felt right to hand it off to someone who'd actually fill it with love and laughter, not lies and betrayal. I used the profit to pay off the last of my nursing school debt, bought myself a new car, and took 2 weeks off work to go to Montana. Rented a little cabin near Flathead Lake. Just me, a stack of books, and silence. It felt like breathing for the first time in years. As for Travis, he took a plea deal. He avoided jail time, but got slapped with probation, a $15,000 restitution fine, and a felony record. He had to do 300 hours of community service and attend court-ordered financial ethics classes. He applied for job after job, but no one would hire him with fraud on his record, especially not in IT. The kicker? He ended up working at a warehouse in Fresno, loading boxes overnight for $16 an hour. And Leanne, well, her plastic surgery started to wear off. Cheap work never lasts. Her lips looked uneven. Her cheek fillers dropped. She tried to sue the clinic in Italy, but had no case. And the spa she posted about on Instagram? Turns out, they blocked her after she tried to skip out on a final bill. Her house? Sold at auction. Last I heard, she was living in a rundown duplex with Travis, fighting with the neighbors about parking. They still blame me. But I don't care. Because I'm free now. Not just from them, but from that version of me that thought love meant paying someone's bills while they laughed behind your back. That thought being a good wife meant silence and sacrifice. I know better now. And next time, there won't be a next time.